Today we're going to be making chocolate crusted 7-layer bars. Maybe you've tasted these before, but this is a different version with the chocolate and the graham cracker together. Let me show you the ingredients that we're going to put in so you can prepare ahead of time if you want. First of all, we have 2 cubes of butter, and we'll be adding sugar and salt to this to melt in a little bit to prepare the crust. The main ingredients, a part of the 7 layers, is going to be almonds, coconut, butterscotch chips, and chocolate chips. And I brought the packaging because I want you to make sure you buy the best quality ingredients if you're going to go ahead and make these bars. So Baker's sweetened coconut, this is really the best. It's just a very, very light, very fluffy, good coconut, okay? At the very end, we're going to be putting on Eagle brand condensed milk. This is why this recipe is going to be so easy and delicious. We're going to put 2 types of crust. We're using 9 graham cracker crust. I use Honey Made brand because that's the best brand. I've tried all kinds. And then we have, the recipe calls for famous chocolate wafers. I've been to 3 stores and just can't find them right now. So we're going to be substituting in Oreos. You need 9 ounces. That's one of these little packages. And about 10 or 12 of these, right, 10 ounces, so it's a full 10 ounces of cookies all together. Those are the ingredients, so let's get started. Okay, to get started, the first thing you want to do is turn your oven onto 350 degrees. That seems to be the magic number for almost all baking. And then you want to I actually purchased these perfectly nicely sized parchment paper so it doesn't have to roll. I buy this from Orson Gigi in Salt Lake City. I order 100 of them at a time. And this is how I make almost everything to make sure everything comes out of the pan correctly so that you don't have anything sticking to the pan. But how you prepare your pan is you take just canola oil or any kind of cooking spray and you're going to spray your pan 9 by 13. Mine's a nice deep pan, which I like because it could be a big layer if you need to. And then I go ahead and put my parchment paper in so it'll stick to that. Right around to the edges as evenly as you can. Then I'm going to spray it one more time. Now the pan is all prepared. The next thing I'm going to do is I've got my 2 cubes of unsalted butter in my large pan here. I'm going to add, I believe this is 2 tablespoons of sugar and a teaspoon of half a teaspoon of, quarter teaspoon of salt, excuse me, quarter teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to stir this in a little bit. While this is melting, we're going to go over to our Ninja. Well, this is melting. And we're going to prepare our crust ingredients, which is, when you use something like this, it's so much easier. If you don't have something that can chop graham cracker crust and cookie crust really fine, you could take a rolling pin or a mallet, put it in a Ziploc bag, and just crush them as fine as you can. But we're going to do, put our chocolate in first into our Ninja with a metal blade. I'm going to turn that on high because I want a fine crumb. Okay, those turned out perfect. So I'm going to add this to my bowl of crumbs. Anything with Oreo in a crust is going to be amazing. The famous chocolate wafers are amazing too. They just don't have the inside filling, but you don't even see the white filling in there either. Okay, so I'm going to put my blade back in here and I'm going to add my graham crackers. There's 9, which is actually 1 package of graham crackers. These are also very fine crumbs. We're just going to add this all together in here. Okay, and then we're waiting for our butter right here to melt. Our butter and sugar and salt. We're going to be putting all of these graham cracker crumbs in here. This recipe takes all of about 10 minutes to make once you get all the ingredients out, because all you're doing is making the crust and making the layers. So we'll be back in just a moment when the butter is completely melted. 2 cubes of butter have melted, and I'm going to go ahead and add all of the crumbs here into the saucepan and mix up till they're thoroughly combined. I'm just going to keep this on low. chocolate and graham cracker together. It's got to be amazing. This recipe, these bars are going to go on my holiday plate this year to hand out to friends. Hope you'll be checking out all my other cookies and bars and fudge that I'm making for the season to put on the plate to give out. This is what I give food gifts every year because that's what I do. And it's really fun, and I'm hopefully showing you plenty of recipes that are easy to put together that you can plan every day to kind of get together before you put your plate together. Okay, this is thoroughly mixed together. I'm just going to dump this, turn off my heat, and dump this in my prepared pan. You want to make sure it's as even as possible all the way around to the edges. Might need to move it around a little bit to kind of get to the edges. So you can see half of this bar is the wonderful crust that you're going to have. All right, and I usually take my pan and I kind of just press it right on down here towards the edge to make the crust. A little bit more down here at this edge. Okay, simple, right? Okay, now's the fun part. We're going to start by layering 1 cup of chocolate chips on the bottom as evenly as you can. Okay, the next layer is going to be the butterscotch chips, and this is also 1 cup. Now, any of you who've ever tried my son Brandon's chocolate chip cookies, these are the 2 main ingredients in that recipe too. So you know this one is going to be good with the chocolate chips and the butterscotch chips together. Now, the only thing that's not a cup is the coconut. We've got 1.5 cup of sweetened flaked coconut. That's going to go on top of here. And then the last but not least is our sliced almonds. And you can see this is going to be quite a big, deep layer of sweet, gooey yumminess. And then the next easy part is, I like to use this brand because it is the top brand and it is always better than the store brand. So I try to use the best thing I can every time if I can. You just take the lid off of this and you're just going to go from side to side and just pour in the sweetened condensed milk over the top as evenly as possible all the way to the edge. I'm going back the other way to get some spots that I might have missed in my drizzling. Okay, and now we are going to bake this for about 35 to 40 minutes till everything's nice and bubbly and browned. I'm going to put this in the 350 degree oven and we'll take it out in about, let's see, 40 minutes. I've just taken our thing out of the oven and I let it bake for about 37 minutes. I checked it and decided it was definitely nice and brown on the outside, so I didn't want to bake it any longer. Okay, in the recipe what happens, this is what you need to do, and I'll show you this later. We are going to let this cool on a rack right here. You need to have the bottom cooling as well. So we're going to cool this on a rack for the next 45 minutes to an hour. And then you need to put it in the refrigerator and cool for at least 2 hours. It needs to be kind of melded up together so it'll be easy to cut. And then at that point you're going to take a breadboard or something like that that's bigger than this. You can use a chopping block if you want. And you're going to turn it over, and so that this parchment paper will come right out on the top, so that you'll have the bottom will be on the top where you will be able to slice it, because this will be too gooey to slice just individually even when it's all finished, but you're going to want to turn that over. So we'll show you that in a couple of hours when everything's cooled down and chilled up and ready to slice, so you can put it on your holiday platter. This is the second day for our 7-layered dessert that we're making, 7-layer bars. We've had them in the refrigerator for overnight, and so that they're kind of a little bit stiffened up and hardened up, and what we're going to do is just turn them over like this onto my cutting board and remove the parchment paper. And these may have to kind of warm up a little bit to cut through these, but this is why you want to cut them this way, because you don't want to cut into the top where it's really sticky from all of the other ingredients. Okay. We're going to cut the bars now, and we've already separated them out into 8 separate pieces. And now I'm going to be cutting them into thirds. And this is a little bit hard to cut because we've put it in overnight. I think if you go ahead and do it just the 2 hours, it'll be a little bit easier to cut. So I'm going to separate this into thirds. So let's see how they look on our plate. These will need to kind of soften up a little bit. The butter will soften up a little bit and the crust as well, so that it'll be a lot easier to take a bite out of it. But it's beautiful, and this is going to look great on your holiday platter. I want to show you up close how great this the 7-layer bar is. You've got the chocolate, the graham cracker crust, the layers of butterscotch, chocolate chips, and coconut, and the almonds on top. This is heaven.